Namaste, Jai Shri Ram, and welcome to Dharma Explorers. Dharma Explorers is a series of conversations with prominent personalities who are strong supporters of Sanatana Dharma but were not born in Hindu household. I'm your host, Jai Bansal. I'm affiliated with the Vishwa Hindu Parishad of America, where I serve as the Vice President of Education. Now it is my great pleasure to welcome Divya Jain ji. She has a unique life story to share with us today. Divya ji, namaste.
Namaste, everyone. Namaste to all the viewers and namaste, Bansalji.
Ji, ji. As I said earlier, this platform is really for those who are strong supporters of Sanatan Dharma, but were not necessarily born in a Hindu household. Now, that is actually not the story with Divya ji. The reason we're bringing her here is because she has a very unique twist in her life story, which she's going to share with us. But before we get there, let me just give a brief introduction of hers to our viewers. Divya Jain is a biotech professional and mother of two young girls. She is originally from Indore in Madhya Pradesh, Bharat, and is currently living in Detroit, Michigan. Divyaji was born in a Sanatana Dharma household, but during her college years, converted to Christianity. And then several years later, did a Ghar Vapsi back to Sanatana Dharma. She is now deeply involved in Hindu advocacy for the last 4 years. She is a board member of Hindu Community Relations Council and an executive committee member of Hindu Action, as well as a volunteer with Hindu Swamsevak Sangh. Divyaji, once again, it's great to have you on Dharma Explorers, and we are anxiously looking forward to hearing your life story.
Dhanyavad. Thank you. Thank you for that introduction. And I'm ready to share my story.
Thank you. Let's start with something very simple, Divyaji. Why don't you tell us about your growing up years, a little bit about your family, the atmosphere in the family, and yeah, from also, what was the dharmic atmosphere in the household?
So my parents, as you have already mentioned in the introduction, I belong to Indore. I was born in Sagar, Madhya Pradesh, and eventually we moved to Indore, Madhya Pradesh, because my parents found jobs there. Basically, they both were public servants for Madhya Pradesh government, working for the government, and mother was a teacher, Hindi Sanskrit teacher, and father was a geologist. Both of them are retired now. So all in all, very simple family, and as most of the middle class Jain families are in India, Bharat, very, just very homely. In Jains, we discourage eating outside for dharmic reasons, for the suggested reasons. We want to eat at home, cook all our meals at home, fresh cooked meals. So my mom, in spite of working woman, she was always cooking the meals for us. I was brought up in a nuclear family, but most of the extended family was in Ujjain. So we would regularly go pretty much every weekend would go and visit them. So that sense of being not in the joint family was not there. Basically, we're not living under one roof, but we were well connected. My mother was a ritualistic woman, so to say. Father was not very much ritualistic. He would like to. He was a yoga practitioner. He wanted to learn about stuffs related to dharma, spirituality, but not into going to temples or doing pujas or nitya puja, nitya sadhana. So his sadhana was mostly practicing yoga. Growing up, you know how every household in Bharat has that. If you're sick, the first go to is not the doctor but the Ayurvedic medicines which are available at home. And my father, even to this date, we have like good collection of all the jari booties at home, all kind of herbs. Even in United States, every time I visit India, I have that. My parents make sure that in spite of packing uh, gift items or clothing, they would pack me all the herbs. So I have all different kind of herbs at home in my cupboard. And even to this date, when now I am a mother and my kids get sick, the first thing I give them is whatever available at home. So that is how much we don't realize it until we apply it. So when now that I think about it, that this is all being taught by my parents. I'm carrying the legacy, and of course, my parents got their learning from their parents, and that's how we move forward, right? In the Sanatani family, in the traditional Sanatani family. So that's how I grew up. This is my family background.
So you said, your mother was very dharmic, ritualistic. So family atmosphere. I mean, it's always the mother that creates the atmosphere in the family. You know. So yet, so you grew up with those sanskars, and yet somehow you were, I guess, convinced to change your dharma. I'm just wondering if there was, you were not deeply rooted personally in it, or you had some doubts about the veracity of it, or what was the reason for being so easy to convert, so to speak?
So, I think growing up, as a kid, we do not realize we have many questions. Like I see my daughters have so many questions. They keep asking. Um, I think not being connected to any Hindu organization per se could be, now that I think of how I am upbringing my girls. They go to local shakha, they go to Hindu Swayam Sevak Sangha. There they are into some organized teaching. I mean, even though it's not very very organized like how Bal Vihars are in United States, um, I did not go to them. So there used to be Jain pathshalas and temple.
Mhm.
My parents didn't have that dedicated time, also because of the distance, how it was a little far from our house. And maybe my parents didn't realize the importance of it, that they need to put me in that organized system of education. So those systems, I really think now that are important in shaping children's mentality, in shaping their viewpoint.
Mhm.
So that was missing. Now I know it, and that's why I'm sending my kids to Shakha, and eventually plan to put them in Bal Vihar so that they progress from kindergarten to 12th standard of education in Dharma. So that was, I think, one of the big reason. Also, parents learning themselves does not mean that they are going to be equally communicative about it. So even though my mother has a PhD in Jainism, so I don't remember the exact topic, but it was around Tirthankaras and about Jain faith. But then too, I felt there was a communication gap. Either it could be two ways. I was not receptive enough, or maybe she was not communicative enough. And sometimes we are not everybody like that. This is how I feel, that the existence of Hindu parent network or such initiatives are very important, because not every parent know how to communicate with kids. So I see that the importance of it and the value of it. So I think that was the reason I that gap would have happened, because I was seeing the rituals happening. I was seeing us going to temples, but I was not, probably not understanding it as I should have.
I think a lot of children go through, similar experiences, similar thoughts, and I think you make a good point that perhaps the some of the dharmic education has to be done through a more organized channels as opposed to home. Although home is, very fundamental to this entire process. Let's talk about the conversion process. I think you shared your story a little bit in in different platforms, so I know a little bit about it. But just explain to our viewers what was the process like. How did they approach you? I call it the seduction process, if you don't mind. But it's they try to obviously rope you in, convince you that something is wrong with what you believe in. So just tell us a little bit about how that entire you know process was.
So it all started when before that I'll go a little bit backward in the time when so growing up as a normal, as soon as I reached college or for undergrad, right? I think these colleges are, or even in Bharat, they're subtle leftist centers, right?
Hmm.
Where you start changing your viewpoint, and that takes you certainly in subtle ways. It takes you away from your your dharmic education or dharmic viewpoint. So that had already started, where I was debating in my mind that what is Western culture is better than our Sanatani dharmic culture. So that debate had already started, and I think the seeds were sown at that point of time when I was doing undergrad in Bharat, in my hometown Indore. Now, coming to United States, I reached United States in 2011 to pursue my MS biotechnology grad program in University of Texas San Antonio. There, I started like a regular student. Definitely, it was a very big cultural jump and culture change, culture shock, as they say, and I was finding it very difficult to adjust. So I think the biggest thing I feel like is that your punching bag or your cushion at such time is your own community, the Indian Hindu community that I was looking for in form of friends. I think I that was missing since the beginning of the start of this program. I could not find reliable, trustworthy, good friends.
Hmm.
So that had already started. By 2012, when almost a year had passed, I was in a very bad state, in a devastating state of being very lonely on campus, and that was against my personality, which was very extroverted personality who liked people around and like to be surrounded by people, like to chat and talk and whatnot. So I think that was the time that my guards were down. And as we all kind of, people who work in advocacy know it, that when your guards are down, that's the time for proselytization or evangelicals attacking you. So they pretty much approached me in that time, and how it started was Telugu converted Christian from Andhra. He joined university at that time, and he kind of became friend, because I was looking for friendships, and he exactly knew how to become friends with somebody like me. So I was already caught in that turmoil, and I now I was spiraling down. So what he did was that he after becoming friends for like I guess 1 or 2 months, he already had sensed that I am feeling pretty lonely on campus. So he invited me to this on-campus church, and surprisingly, I mean, I recently I came to know that in the northern side of United States, this is all very this doesn't happen, that they allow the ministries to be on campus.
Mm,
But in southern side of the United States, or in the Bible Belt, uh, not only the ministries do come, but we used to have Wednesday, religious Wednesday, you can call it, where all different faiths, including ISKCON, was present on campus. No other organizations from Hindu side, but ISKCON was there. And um, so this guy invited me to attend one of their congregations in evening on campus. So I think it was Wednesday that they used to meet every Wednesday, and I happily went there because again I was looking for friends. So I was welcomed with beautiful smiles and a lot of warm gestures. That is pretty much it. I was looking for this thing. And they hugged me. They wanted to know about me. They felt like I'm like the star there for the night. So I I loved it. And as we moved to the congregation hall where the pastor was gonna deliver the message, where the musical prayers were going on, so I was astounded. I had never seen something like this. That you can sing and you can pray, and with all the rock music, with all different kind of music. So um, I just felt so amazed and so amused that I did not pay attention to what pastor wanted to say after the musical prayers were over. So when he probably had said that Jesus is the only way, and every meeting is to convey that message, because they're inviting new students. The new students have joined. If they're not caught in first few meetings, I mean, then they would go away. They would not come back. So the message has to be clear from pastor's side as well, which he delivered very well. And I did not pay attention. I was paying attention to the ambience, to the people, and then I was engrossed in music, I guess. So I didn't pay attention that he's saying Jesus is the only way. Probably I would not have gone, if I would have thought it twice, but I didn't pay attention. So anyway, because I found friends, I found people. I thought that I would keep going there, and I kept on attending those congregations every Wednesday. And side by side, this person who invited me, he was we were talking about it as well, side by side. On, like, whenever we are meeting, he's trying to preach about Christianity, and I would listen. And since I had an inquisitive nature, I would ask cross questions, but not as many. At this point, I just wanted to enjoy finding new people and finding some kind of rooting. So this was 2012, mid fall of 2012, right? Or I should say, even before that, it was summer of 2012. So now I was still in I was a very emotional person. My emotions were not under control. So I would, even, like, if he says something which would for example, oh, Jesus loves you, he understands your pains, and I would start crying profusely. So I think that is all I was looking for, that there is a God who understands my pain, who understands that how my life is not going right now, or how, I so that was a deadly mix of not being away from your home country. You're an emotional person. Your emotions are not under control, or you're too emotive, and you are basically, anybody can uh, tell you anything, and then you would start crying, kind of a thing. So I was a perfect candidate, in other words. Eventually, I was invited to 1 month in or so. I was invited for a small group, not even 1 month. The third or fourth meeting, they invited me to a small group, which was led by a girl, a very very younger than I am, like about 6, 7 years younger. She was leading this small group at her house. So a couple of girls are living in a beautiful ranch house. Beautiful Texan ranch houses are pretty big as well compared to the other states. So I would go and one of the I think it was Thursday evening. Every Thursday evening, I would go for a small group. So they would discuss Bible there. So they would pick up a topic and then or a verse, and they would discuss that. Along with that, they would do activities, fun activities. So I think that similar kind of structure do exist in HSS as well, where we call them ghatak.
Sure.
And we it's a fellowship and learning something, right? Here they were learning Bible. So along with the fellowship, with the games, the entertainment, so again, I further got attracted to it because it was again very warm and welcoming environment. Eventually, so in these small groups, I would ask questions. I would ask questions about why are you saying that Jesus is the only way? Or but Hinduism teaches this. As much as I knew, right? I mean, I knew quite a bit. I was not learning shastras, or I did not, but at least I knew the gist of couple of things. So um, upon cross questioning, of course, these girls, first of all, they're very young. Secondly, they did not have a worldview, an expansive worldview. So I would just listen to them, but they could not answer my questions. They were just beating around the bush. But again, now I had to choose between do I want them as friends and people and rooting, or do I want to debate with them? So eventually I stopped cross questioning, and I was just listening to whatever they are saying. And I think again, this is a gradual process where the brainwashing had already started, but it was further deepening because now I'm not questioning. Then this guy who invited me to church, this Bharatiya Telugu guy, he eventually introduced me to some other friends who are like deeper Christian, who are practicing. They're older than I am, and they are deep into Christianity, deep into the word, not young, do not maybe not have worldview, but they knew quite a lot. Like they were reading, if not the religions, the world religions, they were at least had some viewpoint, more than the younger fellows. So when I was introduced to them, and they were heavily emotional than even I am. So I thought that, oh my God, I found my furthermore rooting. I mean, an emotional person finds another emotional person, and it becomes a deadly combination. And I was like, oh my God, it's amazing.
Mm.
So they actually accepted me into their families as well. I started to going to their small groups as well. I would not go to temple maybe every weekend, right? Every Sunday. But here I am going to two small groups and on campus congregation. So that makes it three. And eventually I started going to Sunday congregation. So 4 days in a week, I'm going to church and constantly listening that Jesus is the only way. There is no other way. Everything else is evil. Everything else is wrong. And if you do not accept Jesus as your savior, you have to go to eternal hell. So that was the basic message, right? Overall message.
Mm.
So I kept going to all these spaces. In the younger small group, I would not question much. In the older small group, though, I started questioning. And surprisingly, they had mastered their skill of communication so well that they had answer to everything.
mm,
Was
mm,
it right answer? Was it wrong? That's a different story. But they had answers. So I thought that, I mean, my even my questions were becoming irrelevant at this point. So now, instead of, as I grew more further ahead, instead of cross questioning, now I'm questioning from Christianity, that
mm,
why this happened, why that happened, what does Jesus has to say about this situation.
mm, mm,
So I was pretty much stumped that now I am on path of, now the question had become, uh, if I want to get baptized or not. So
mm,
that baptism pressure had already begun. Like even the younger small group leader would ask me, when are you planning to get baptized? And this was like literally 3-4 months in that they started pushing me that you should baptize. And the older small group, though, because they knew that I'm an inquisitive person, also they were not in a hurry. They wanted to like satisfy me completely, and with my inquisitiveness, or to kill that inquisitiveness, in other words. And then they wanted me to get baptized eventually. But when I asked the question that is baptism necessary, the clear answer was yes, it is necessary, because you have to confess to the world that you have accepted Christ as your savior, and you are further in your life, you're just gonna uh, treat him as the king of your lives, and now that you're saved. Okay? So that's how it all started from 2012, around March, April of 2012, and then by May 2014, I was baptized. So I made a decision of getting baptized in 2014. So this is about the conversion story so far.
okay. So during this process, were you communicating any of this with your parents or with your Indian friends who are, not Christian? Were you communicating any of this with anyone?
So I did visit my family
Mm,
in I guess one of the summers, 2012 summer. I went briefly for a few weeks, or even 2013. I would tell my parents that how Bible is the only answer.
mm,
So
mm,
I did tell them, and over the phone I would not mention that I'm going, but when I was there, I was trying to convince them, or trying to get into conversation with them, which obviously they could not defend because they didn't know that what else to say. So my mother invited me to go to temple with her. uh, I um, I said no, I'm not gonna go, because Bible is, speaks greatly against idol worshippers or deity worshippers.
mm,
So I'm not gonna go. So I outrightly rejected her proposal to come to temple with her. Also, I was always in a relationship with one person who now I'm married to, and is my husband. And we would discuss things greatly. He knew every whereabouts, right, where I'm going, and what am I involved in. So he saw me getting involved in church and in Christian journey.
mm,
Whenever we used to meet, we had another friend joining us, and this is I'm talking about after 2014 when I got baptized. Up to 2012 to 2014, it was only my back then the person that I was in relation with. He would try to convince me that no, Hinduism is a good path, and it's pretty comprehensive. We should be proud and whatnot. But after 2014, another friend joined the journey with us, and that was his friend, but now my friend as well. And he was also very He was listening to Rajiv Malhotra. He was listening to all the Hindu advocacy for years. Like around, he mentions that he started his journey around 2008, 2009. So he was very logical, and he was not pushy, of course. I mean, he was not forcing me into listening to him, but he would. Now that I think of it, he would put his points very logically, and even then, even after all the logics, I was still getting dragged into Christianity.
Sure. So now the deed is done. You converted, you baptized, you converted. What was the advice to you from them? First of all, did you take on a Christian name? And secondly, what did they say about your interactions with non-Christians? Did they also, admonished you against some of the old traditional practices that you had grew up in, food habits, how you dress? Bindi is an example, things like that. So just tell us, well, what was sort of out of bounds now for you?
I did not take a Christian name. So
Okay.
their thought was that I should continue with my name.
Okay.
I think some Christian denominations do profess on changing names. This one did not.
Hmm.
And I forgot to mention that it is called Chi Alpha Christian Ministry or Campus Ministry.
Okay.
So if viewers want, they can go and search for what is Chi Alpha Campus Ministry, and it's an evangelical Protestant denomination, not particular any denomination, but Protestants.
Mhm.
So I did not take a Christian name. Um, the practices. So we would discuss with. Now I was more in connection with the older women that still calls me her sister, and even at that time she was calling me her sister. So we were deeply connected because we both were very inquisitive about spirituality.
Hmm.
So these were twin sisters, but I was more connected to one sister than the other. Both very, again, very emotional people, very, very passionate people. So the the person that I was more connected to, we would hang out all the time. So I actually graduated in 2014, and I left San Antonio. But I would keep visiting her whenever I got a chance. I would visit her. So when I converted, and I would have had questions, I think I was already sold to the idea that Jesus is the only way. That is why I baptized, because I was convinced. So during that process, because I now my meetings were very eventually with her, right? Not like I'm there in San Antonio. When I was there, I would meet her 3 times a week.
Hmm.
Sometimes I would end up like living with her. But at that time, she definitely pointed out or asked questions about why do Hindus put bindi
Sure.
or some other symbols, the deities.
Hmm.
What do we think? She wanted to understand as well. But already that was made up in her mind that whatever the answer I'm going to give her, it is going to fall flat on her ear, because she already has this idea that it's evil. So I don't think that she was, although she was asking, but she was not listening.
Mhm.
And about about non-Christians, they definitely have the same idea that the non-Christians are going to eternal hell.
Sure.
And sometimes they would, play with their words, but they're not clear enough what is eternal hell, what is going to happen after.
Sure.
Based on the book, the Bible, it is clearly mentioned. There are multiple verses around it which tells you that Jesus is the only way, Jesus is the only God, He is the only way to God. And if you do not follow Him, you're gonna go to eternal. So those verses are pretty clear.
Mhm.
The apologetics on Christianity, they keep playing with their words, and that's how I see these two sisters as that they they were apologetic, but they also had a very convincing idea that, and that's how they played with my mind. So all in all, I thought that it was a mind game. It was brainwashing and a gradual brainwashing. uh, it needs a perfect seeding, it needs a perfect environment to get brainwashed into the whole idea, and that process is slow. For some inquisitive people it's very slow, for the others it might not be. It could be very fast when they are sold to the idea. um, and there could be different guarding downs that they can attack you. In other words, I call it attack because they are on an agenda, we are not. So, but symbolism, they had questions. In other words, even after 2014, when I visited this friend's house, they definitely had questions or concerns that if I'm wearing some black thread, or how mothers do for
Yeah.
evil eyes or all that kind of ritual, even for kalava, they would have questions that is it. So they ask questions like, oh, is it cultural or is it religious?
Mm.
And it's so difficult to explain them that our culture is our religion or our religion is our culture. They are intertwined. So they definitely had questions and concerns. They would not speak bad about, at least these two ladies, they would not speak bad about the other people who are non-Christians,
Mm.
but they felt pity for them, that these people are not going to heaven and not going to be in service of Jesus Christ, but they have to go to eternal hell. So they would feel pity. And I was also told by these two women and the others that the only way to save them is to bring them to Christianity and bring them to gospel, bring them to the idea that Jesus is the only way.
Sure.
But they didn't have hatred, but they had pity, and they wanted to bring and they were given numbers that you have to convert that many.
Mm.
So every person who would come, you call it, you call it, you can hold your ear like this or like that, and some they say that we are saving you from eternal hell, or I hate you for not being Christian,
Yeah,
right?
sure. Sure.
It's the same thing in my opinion.
Sure. Sure. It's a semantics, isn't
Yeah,
it?
yeah.
Okay, so then you eventually found your way back to Sanatan Dharma. I don't know how long did it take you to get back?
So it took me 8 years, right? If I start the starting date to end date was literally 8 years
It,
of journey.
I
Yes,
see. So that's a long time, obviously. You were Christian, practicing Christian for that period of time. I'm just wondering, you know, during that period, did you actively proselytized, non-Christians, and were you expected to? And did they give you training on how to do it?
absolutely. So even though they did not train me, they asked me to ha- get the training,
Mhm.
which I did not have time for. And the other reason was I moved from the town, the city.
Mhm.
That is also why I did not start my training. But yes, I was supposed to proselytize people, and I was supposed to ask or preach the gospel to my family, to my friends, and my soon going to be husband. That's right.
Mhm. Okay. And did you actually proselytize anyone and convert anyone to Christianity?
I tried for my parents. I tried for my boyfriend. I tried on his friend who was trying to, you know, put logical conversation. So I tried on a couple. I tried on my other friends too.
Hmm.
Yeah.
Okay. So during this period, did you ever have any regrets about your decision? Yeah, and did you sort of miss any aspect of your previous life?
So when 2014, I must say 2014 to 16,
Mhm.
until I got married, I was a very staunch Christian who would hate everything about dharmic values, dharmic teaching, going to temples, And I would curse that, why was I born in Bharat? I should have been born here in this amazing country, in this amazing religion. Then it would have been so easy. And I started to have second thoughts about getting married to this Hindu guy who I was dating since 2010, or whom I knew, or I decided in 2010 that I'm going to get married to him eventually. So I had all those ideas, and I was debating in my mind that what is right and wrong. So that's how it happened. Yeah.
Hmm. Okay. Um, and what was just wondering, what was the attitude of, you know, the Hindu society or Jain society? I don't know how much interaction you had with with the Jain society at large, but I'm just wondering, as you were unfolding your decisions or your conversion with your social groups and so on and so forth. I'm just wondering how it was received by them. And obviously at that point you didn't care because you were already very well committed. But how was it received by them?
I did not speak to a large group. I was only speaking to my friends or to my family. That's it. So I don't know if I would have spoken at large platforms, how would it have been received? But I did not reach to that point.
So then eventually, you said roughly 8 years later, you came back to Sanatan Dharma. What was the reason for making that decision? What was that process like?
So we'll start with 24 between 2014 to 2020. What happened, right? I would visit San Antonio whenever I'm getting a chance, at least once a year.
Mhm.
And I would go for a good long 2 weeks or something like that, and staying with this person who was very kind to accommodate me in her house, right? And mm, I'm seeing her teaching her four kids about Christianity. I'm seeing every moment she's trying to live in Christianity, in Christian faith. But I did not sense that there is fear, that how you cannot even imagine the amount of fear you're inculcating in young minds,
Mhm.
that if there are verses, the stories are pretty atrocious,
Mhm.
where they're leading to the destruction, the flooding, and whatnot. So I
Mhm.
think you are just converting those young minds and telling them that this is the only way. And if you do not follow this way, then there is no other way, highway, for you. So um, these kids are aged what, like 4, 5, and very less apart in their ages. So four kids less apart in their ages, listening to these stories. They sing. The singing part was amazing. That's what I really, honestly, I loved it, and I still love it when they sing on top of their lungs and with all the emotions, and beautifully played songs. Um, they would cry profusely while praying, and even in groups, in a small group, they would cry profusely. That's their way of connecting to Jesus. The other thing that that does not make sense to me, and it still does not, and I completely now think that it was very psychological thing for me, is speaking in tongues. And I've spoken about it on multiple occasions, that speaking in tongue is more like you start believing, and then it start manifesting. And that is how it happened to me when I'm seeing them speaking in tongues. And speaking in tongues is nothing but you're basically blabbering, and that is called speaking in tongues. And the Christians say that the Holy Spirit is on you, and that is why you're manifesting that speaking in tongues. I think it it took me a while to do that, but it was happening to me as well. And now I feel quite stupid about it, to be honest. That I was sold to the idea, and then I was looking at them, that how they're attached to their gods, and now it's manifesting in tongues as well. So I started doing that too, and it went on. So I think the question was that how I came back, right? So this is how I was progressing. In 2016, I got married. 2017 September, I had my first daughter. Now I'm going with my first daughter to this friend's house in Texas, and I'm constantly debating how should I raise my daughter.
mm,
What should I do?
mm,
Uh, the last question was I missing anything out? When I go to temple, I'm not able to connect with the temple. I'm not able to understand the same Divya which was coming here in all Shraddha and in all devotion, is
mm,
not able to connect with the same deities anymore, not able to connect with the rituals anymore, not able to connect to the messages of Sanatan anymore. But I was still very deeply connected to Indian classical dance and music, and both of them, which are every art form, if they're classical art forms at least, are in Natya Shastra and are mentioned in our Shastras and are a way to connect to the divine. So I think that however the divinity is working, it did not detach me from those utility values of Dharma. And this term utility values, I eventually learned when some I was talking to somebody and they explained that, oh, so the utility values actually brought you back, and I really like that term, so I adopted. And it was, yes, it was the classical dance and music. I always wanted to be. I tried to learn them on different occasions, and I love watching them. I enjoy them. So that was my connection, pretty much the only connection left to the dharmic values. And eventually I kept going. So I remember this that before COVID hit, that 2019 summer, I went to um, I went to Texas, and I spent almost like again 2 weeks with this friend. And I was asking her about multiple things, and this question came up. We were sitting in a Tex-Mex restaurant and eating, and I was asking her that. So, what do you think about Indian classical dance and music
mm,
and art forms in general? Because you are an artist. She is an amazing singer. She plays cellos, and all her siblings are very artistic, very gifted. So I asked her, what is your thought on Indian classical dance and music? So she told me that, the notes are very, in every note there are two notes or something like that, which I'm
mm,
not very familiar with, but she was explaining that it's very intensive, very, very beautiful. But sometimes when she tries to sing them, she feels like it's out of sync for her.
mm, mm,
So maybe the language difference or whatever. But then she told me, so I told her that, okay, this is most of our dance forms are around the Devi Devatas or around the divinity. What's your thought about that? So she outrightly rejected it. She
mm,
said that, if that's the case, you should not even be watching. And that kind of broke my heart, and that kind of broke me as a person. That's very enchanting for me. That whole art form is so enchanting. How can I leave it? So something clicked inside, or something shattered inside me, or I can say, like, rekindled that
mm,
something is really wrong if you're not allowing me to enjoy um, what I really, I want to learn the art forms. I just fall in amazement when I see them dancing. So if I have that connectivity, if you ask me to get disconnected from it, was rekindling the questions in me. And all through, actually, I should not say that was the only point, because I was on the other hand, I did not stop my search ever, except for that 2 year period from 2014 to 2016. I was constantly learning something else as well on parallel. Of course, I would not tell this to them, but I was still trying to learn, because now I have a contradicting viewpoint, which where the Bible or Jesus is saying, or that I'm the only way. I was trying to find that is he actually true? So, apart from being sold into Christianity or completely invested in Christianity for 2 years, I was still, doing my search afterwards, and especially when I'm debating with the idea about how should I raise my own child. And in 2020, when COVID hit and I was in lockdown, and at the same time, Palghar mob lynching happened in Maharashtra. And I reached out to this person because I tried to find out why Palghar mob lynching happened. Of course, we all know that there's no verdict so far, and justice has not been served. But then I came to know about Palghar that there is a huge amount of conversions happening, and it's a big conversion center for from Hindus to Christianity. These two saints who were lynched, they were serving local public, trying to take them out of. So the missionaries would serve drugs and alcohol, and these guys, on the other hand, trying to take them out of, so that they don't go to wrong path. And I think that was the reason, even though we say that it was on a rumor based on of WhatsApp. Okay, it could be rumor, but why the police is helping in the lynching? The video footages are out there, and it kind of shattered me again. And when I questioned this person about why did it happen, why the missionaries are doing it, instead of giving me an appropriate answer, she told me that Hindus have burned Christians in the past, and they quote that Orissa incidents where Dara Singh, who is still in jail,
Mm.
to stop conversion, the in his village,
Yeah.
he burned some two family, right, family members. So they keep quoting that, and they call it persecution, whereas we all know that what is the rate of conversion currently, and growing, it's just growing every
Yeah.
day. So this
Yeah.
is my comeback was April 2020.
2020.
Mhm.
Yeah. So yeah, they talk about the persecution and burning of Christians, but of course, Goa Inquisition never happened for them, for instance, and all the other things. But anyway, we won't go there in this conversation.
Mhm.
Um, so now you decided to convert in 2020. What were the challenges you faced? Pushback from from your Christian friends. I don't know how much communication you had with them about the decision before and after, and also any pushback from any acceptance issues from Dharmic community.
So as soon as I told this person, my friend, that this is the end of it. I mean, I call it a snap out moment, and I just decided I cannot pursue Christianity anymore. And I told her that it's over. I'm not a Christian anymore. I don't know the way out, like how it's going to go. Let's not communicate with each other.
Hmm.
And after that, the Telugu guy, because I was writing on Facebook all about it, sharing my experiences and sharing my viewpoint now.
Sure.
This guy, a couple of months later, he reached out to me in a text message saying, "Oh, I can see how much you're speaking against us and
Hmm.
about Jesus Christ and whatnot." And um, not intimidating, but he wanted to make sure that I hear that he is watching me.
Hmm. Hmm.
So
Hmm.
that was a subtle intimidation, in my opinion. Um, the girls, the ladies, I stopped talking immediately, and So there was no, they tried to reach out on a couple of occasions, but I did not welcome them. I did not even, they tried to tell me, even I think couple of months ago, the lady reached out to me saying that we are still sisters, and uh, you can, keep practicing your path right now, but how about we just at least talk? The
Hmm.
problem is that if I still talk to them, the problem is that in my 4 years of advocacy, I have seen so much what is happening on ground and how the Abrahamic ideas are defined, and what are they doing. Um, how do you even proceed from one sentence that this is all wrong to there is no conversation basically, and this is a one-sided conversation, in other words, in my opinion,
Hmm.
where so I basically am still trying to find that, should I start rekindle the relation, or how the conversation is going to go. So I'm still debating and contemplating, but we haven't started speaking on a regular basis.
Hmm.
The Sanatan community received me well.
Hmm. Hmm.
Very few people, they kind of doubted my, if I'm implanted in the Hindu community to take some information out, kind of a thing. But
Hmm.
by and large, they received me well. Esther the Niraj took my first interview. So when I did the comeback, um, when I tried to search on YouTube about ex-Christian, so her interview popped up when which was taken by Rajiv Malhotra ji,
Hmm.
when Esther came back to Dharmic route, and that was very impressive. So I reached out to her, and she decided to do my interview in August of 2020. So I gave her my first interview, and eventually, after seeing that interview, I got some good opportunities to start speaking as Hindu speaker. So
Hmm.
I learned from different resources, mostly like, I mean, I did not get a chance to go on books, but lot different podcasts and stuff. I developed the whole idea of how, as a speaker, what do I want to say.
Sure.
So I started being speaker, and I got multiple opportunities to speak Hindu Speakers Bureau. I should mention Dr. Dilip Amin was the
Hmm.
first person who got me an opportunity to speak. There was a rigorous interview in place where they go through 3 steps of interview, and then they decide if you can be a speaker with them or not. So when I passed my all 3 levels, and I he got me registered on his website as a
Hmm.
speaker, so that people can reach out to me if they're trying to find Hindu speakers. So after which I did multiple, if I have to put in numbers, like around 100 plus interfaith talks where I presented Hinduism, and then I teach in schools and colleges about basics of Hinduism. So they have in seventh standard they have world religion course. So they invite a lot of schools in the area. They invite Hindu speakers to represent Hindu faith. So that's where I go and teach. I've done multiple of those. I joined in 2021. I joined this local Hindu advocacy organization called HCRC, Hindu Community Relations Council, which is based in Michigan. I joined that, and have been, again, being an interfaith and outreach representative for them. Then eventually I joined Hindu Action, which is another global or all United States based Hindu advocacy. So I joined them as on their committee, and this is how I was growing. And all this time, HSS became a routine where I would go every weekend, and would be there, as a swam sevika. So that's how, the whole cabal grew for me, and pretty much I was very well accepted, and I thought that our people have opened up so much. I shared my interviews with bunch of friends and family and whatnot. So the family and friends do have a very different viewpoint and lookout, but I think the Hindu organizations accepted me very well.
Mm.
I shared my story on multiple platforms. I get questions. Get asked questions. I answer them. And as I say, I'm growing in my journey of Dharma,
Sure.
and always available for any project. I think that's the best I can do, where I can just contribute as much as I can. That's all I'm doing.
Absolutely, Divya. So now you've been, you trained yourself to teach the Sanatana viewpoint to young people. So let's say I'm a young person, 12, 13, 15, something like that, or even college going, uh,
Mhm.
and I'm being approached with these ideas of conversion, so on and so forth. What would you tell them? Why it is not okay to leave the fold of Sanatan Dharma? What's wrong with the other viewpoint? How do you approach that conversation, and what do you say to them?
So the whole idea of, and I think this is the most important question right now.
Mhm.
The with the growing conversions, with growing confusions, I think it's very important, first of all, to understand that Hinduism or Sanatan Dharmic root is very comprehensive in nature, where there is no doctrination or indoctrination, but liberation and a seeking ability. Even the Abrahamics would say that, oh, we are seekers too. No, you're not seekers, but you have that dictate in your books that this is the only way and the other ways are not right ways. So no, it's not liberation. There is a clear contrast in Abrahamic versus Dharmic roots. And that's the first thing. It's not comprehensive. The more you ask questions, for example, why is he the only way? Or how can Earth be created in 6 days? We have multiple proposed theories in Sanatan Dharma, where we have six schools of Astika thought and then four schools of Nastic thoughts. Um, if you actually read them, you will find that pretty much everything is nuanced, and every question is nuanced, and you do understand it from where you are standing in your spiritual yatra or journey. So, very comprehensive. I call it very pluralistic, of course, where six philosophies, six school of thought plus four another, so 10 schools of thought are existing, which means they are allowing you. They're not heavily different from each other, but they're allowing you to live your life in harmony of mind, body, soul, and nature. So it's pluralistic. It's maintaining that balance. It is enriching your seeking abilities. It's not stopping it. There is clear because of cyclical view of time. We do not inculcate fear that this is it, this life is it. So instead of making afterlife or thinking about afterlife, we want to make this life beautiful. And whatever means, we need to do it. And by beautiful, I do not mean luxurious. I mean spiritually beautiful, spiritually better understanding, and spiritually enhanced. Uh, Not just these, but as I was telling, that even the utility values of it makes it so aesthetic and so artistic that it is very palatable and very attractive to all kind of minds. Um, I am more connected to utility values of yoga, of Ayurveda, of dance and music forms, and that's my way of connecting to the divine. There is Bhakti Marga, there is Gyan Marga. So all these margas or these yoga, um, you have pretty much everything, and that's why it's comprehensive. So if there is Divya, there is another person like Jay Bansal maybe who wants to read things, or who is a karma yogi, who believes in actions and who believes in the knowledge yoga or knowledge path where you're reading scriptures and other things. When then the large mass, the end mass is bhakti yogi, which is deeply devoted in the bhakti or the devotion of worshipping the deities or the gods and goddesses, so to say. So that is what I think, that Hinduism is comprehensive, plural, beautiful, for everyone, and whereas Abrahamics is not that.
So Devajit, thank you so much. I think that's a very clear exposition of the Hindu thought process. Let me just ask you one last question. Since you are now in very strongly invested in advocacy groups, and you're yourself going out and talking on these issues, what can the Hindu society at large, in organizations like HSS, us, VHPA, and others, what can we do to sort of resist these predatory tactics of the conversion mafia? Frankly, strong words, but there's no easy way to really put it. So I'm just wondering if you have any thoughts on, what should be my responsibility as part of, let's say, VHP organization.
So, again, very pertinent question.
Hmm.
Based on the advocacy, how we see that how the conversion rate is expanding in Bharat and all across. At workplace, when I speak to Mexicans and some South Americans and Europeans, they do have that reminiscent memory of their dead cultures, dead Indic faiths or indigenous faiths.
Hmm.
And I asked them recently, don't you think it's time to revive them? And they were like, how? Everything is destroyed. There are no books left. There is no connection left. How do you suggest on reviving them? And again, something shattered in me. And I was like, oh my God, what if this happens to Bharat as well? And today I'm asking this question to the lost traditions of Mayan, the European, Norse, and all the indigenous European cultures. Tomorrow, uh, likelihood is there is some other Divya 20 years, 30 years later, and she's maybe 30 years is not that we are going to completely lose dharmic values, but we are degrading, but at the same time we are trying to rebuild it, right? So maybe couple of years, let's say that if it goes where the conversion is happening rampantly, then if you have lost it all, 100 years later some other Divya would ask, let's revive it. Then you don't have anything to revive because the connection has been lost. So I always say that practice as much Hinduism as you can at home, but you have a social responsibility too. So go and join your temples, go and join them as volunteers. Bring your kids. Now the Hindu society more by and large have one or two kids. Bring them to temple, bring them to Hindu organizations. If you wanna I think very important for Hindu society, and this message I keep on repeating in large congregations, the conferences that I go to, or wherever I get a chance, that we need to be very clear what Hinduism is, as by and large. Um, People have very little idea about what Hinduism is. So when I go as a teacher, I give them a comprehensive idea, like how I just spoke about, that it's very comprehensive. As a mother, I know what my dharma is, but at the same time, I know what my dharma is towards society or nation or to any organization that I'm working in. And that striking that balance is only the dharmic route can tell you very well. So one needs to understand what dharma is. One needs to understand the no, if not the nuances, I think in gist they need to understand what Sanatan Dharma tells you, how many philosophies are there, and I have heard some contradictions to my viewpoint, even in Dharmic people. They say that no, it is so nuanced that how can you just summarize it. And I'm like, people need to go travel a reverse journey, but they need to summarize something and then they travel deeper into it. So I think as organizations we need to convey the message very clearly. People do not have a clear understanding of what dharma is, and we need to be precise. We need to find out a way to communicate that a mass understand what dharma is, how many philosophies are there, why is it so comprehensive, and why it is your only solution to keep humanity and keep this earth going. So that is what I ask out of organizations, Hindu organizations. As a person, as a family person, as a mother, I would encourage that people do some go and join a Hindu organizations near them, and understand, they themselves also try to understand what dharma says. If not everybody, Gyan Marg is not for everybody, but at least be in devotion. Try to go to these centers. Because mandir are the cultural, spiritual, and social centers for interaction. One must go there. Also, I always insist that joining some organization for social awakening, or where, for example, HSS and VHP or the Sangh Parivar, any other organizations you can name it. These organizations are in place for so many years. RSS is completing 100 years next year. They have learned so much. They have a good ground strength. You should go and join them. If you have the strength and if you have that kind of passion, you can join the existing Hindu advocacy organizations as well. So there are like bunch of them in United States, and people can think about joining them as volunteers or whatnot. And I think one big thing, last message or last couple of lines would be that as Hindus, we there are a lot of things that ego clashes or power, hunger that do exist amongst Hindu orgs, and that is pretty adharmic in my opinion. And so, how about getting these basics, getting ourselves out of these basics virtue which are against dharma. We should get over them, and that then I see a good Hindu society building.
So, on that note, let me thank you one more time for sharing your time and your thoughts. Thank you so much, and namaste to you. And thank your husband for taking care of the little ones while you were.
I will. So thank you again for having me over. It was wonderful discussing, and every year when I discuss, on an average, I've been discussing this every once a year at least in such interview setting. And when I myself hear myself, I feel like it's very different than last year that I have traveled this journey so far. Yeah.